time. But girl, I wanna give you every little bit, every little piece, every little part of me. Show you my love, just can't be beat. No, baby, I'm ready.
Oh, good morning, beautiful people. Welcome to LoveBabz, Love Talk. I'm Babz Rawls-Ivy. I'm sorry, I'm on the New Haven Independent site and I'm reading. I'm reading it. Paul, is this your story? Scammed again? Were you scammed? I'm just trying to read this. I'm telling you, these cyber criminals are hella good, you know. Uh wow. Gee whiz. They get Connecticut folks for 1.2 billion a year. Damn. Wow. Yikes. Wow. So you got hacked. Oh boy. We got Harry, we keep saying this. We need to have somebody from cybersecurity on to talk about cybersecurity. We, we need somebody on to talk about cybersecurity. Because as much as we like to talk about you know, the apocalypse and dystopian realities. I think the other, this is part of that whole AI piece for me that, it's not going to be bombs that get us. It's going to be cyber attacks and cyber terrorism that's going to do us in. Unleashing, stealing our money and then unleashing bioweapons. I mean, I think that's what's going to be the culprit. I don't think anybody gonna jump on these shores and like run up on us. I mean, that's a possibility because, that's what white men like to do. Uh, but the more sophisticated story will be cyber attacks and cyber terrorism, I think. They come for your money and then they come for the ways in which you access your money and then they lock you out of systems, mess with your money and access. That's going to be the next level of terrorism. And if you could do that for whole countries, right? Like if you could take over a whole country's uh uh banking system, you got them hostage and people can't get access to their money and government can't do a damn thing about it. That's the culprit right there. And then anybody could come in and do anything, you know. And then you add in all this AI stuff, you know, and people could just commandeer AI and make those robots and cyber intelligence things do whatever they say do. That's the risk for me. That's the frontier, you know. I know ain't nobody thinking about that, but that's the frontier as far as I'm concerned, So I don't know. I'm just freaked out by it all, you know. I'm just freaked out by it all. But not freaked out to the point where I'm paralyzed. Just freaked out is like the more I know, the more I want to know. Do you know what I mean? The more I know, the more I want to know. And that's why, paying attention and staying up on these technologies is critical. 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 So anyway, high five Joe Ganim won remains the mayor of Bridgeport. I don't know, you can have all the feelings you want, but the people in Bridgeport said this is what they want. So, you know, I don't know what else is there to say. People can say whatever they want, but the people have spoken for the fourth time. I mean, I think the people in Bridgeport are at home and comfortable with Joe Ganim. He has he has you can say whatever you want about him. He has walked those neighborhoods. He has been in communication with people. I mean, he has done everything that we say we want politicians to do. And and if he's still corrupt, then charges will be brought, I guess. But I don't get no, I don't hear that. I just think people are still mad because he did commit a crime and went to jail for it and came back and got his life back. And ain't that what we say to people all the time? We want to pick and choose who we say that to. And people can say whatever they want. They can have a moral compass about it or whatever. But when people do their time, he did his time. That's it. So if that's the only thing that you can hold over him, okay, then you're in the wrong. And I listen. I'm not for or against him. What I'm saying is, I don't. First of all, I don't live in Bridgeport, so that's number one. Number two, Jeff Grant and I had him on our show, and he's probably one of the best guests we ever had on Criminal Justice Insider. He probably was one of the best guests because he was just like, I don't got nothing to lose. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be as real as I could be. I don't got ish to lose. I got everything to gain. And since they won't give him back his law license, and maybe they will at some point, because you know what? If I'm the state of Connecticut and you don't like Joe Ganim in that role, then maybe you give him back his law license so he can go do that. You know? So, you know, uh, so I'm just saying. So somebody is gaining from him being in that role at that level, I guess. You know. So, you know, I don't know. I'm gonna leave it alone, people. I'm a show enough. Leave it alone. But I'm just telling you, we want, I mean, if the beef is he committed a crime and he went to prison, and he went to prison for a good amount of time, and came back. And this is what they tell you when they sentence you: come back and get your life back. I guess he literally did that, and people don't like it. But apparently somebody liked it because voters in Bridgeport said, that's our mayor. We want him to be our mayor. You know. And it takes a lot to campaign to unseat somebody. It takes a lot. So anyway, there's that. That's that. There's that. I was watching the news last night and I saw, I don't know what town this was, but the police lieutenant guy, the guy was sitting in his truck waiting for the guy to pull out. I guess he was about to pull out, the lieutenant guy. And he's on his phone chatting, half-ass pulling out. So the guy's waiting behind him to pull in. I think that's the story. So anyway, I think he yells at him and say, "Hey, are you coming out or what you doing or whatever?" So the police guy gets out of his car. Now he's not on duty. Nothing. He gets out of his car and he's trash talking this guy. And the guy was like, "Hey, blah, blah, blah." So he hits the guy, like cold cocks him from the side, upside the head. Now all this is on camera. So the guy calls 911 and says, "Hey, I just got punched in the head by somebody, blah, 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 blah." The police come, they find out it's their little captain, lieutenant person, whatever he is. And they treat their own nice. But he was like, so he was about that lie. He's like, oh, he was mouthing off and blah, blah, blah. And the police guy goes, but it's on camera. You hit him, but you hit him. So yeah, that's not gonna. So the other guy, the police guy's on administrative leave, suspension, 5-day suspension while they investigate this. And by investigate, I mean like play the camera. play it, you know. So anyway, uh, I I do believe cops have a PR image. I mean, a public relations problem, and it's only because good cops have for so long stood by and watched bad cops dictate how cops are seen. And that's the God's honest truth. Good cops have stood back and watched their colleagues determine and define how cops are, you know, and it has created a problem across this country. Because if there is a such a thing as good cops, where they at? How do we know then? How do we know then? When do we see them? You know, and cops got to do that work. They got to do the work and say, that's we're not about that, we're about this. And they got to speak out and say that, you know. Until they do that, they're going to get painted with the bad cops who have no problem being out there being bad cops and saying, I'm a bad cop. This is policing. So as long as you are standing behind those guys, those folks, those people defining what policing is, then you're going to have a public relations problem in community, in neighborhoods, in cities, in towns. You're going to have that problem because everybody's going to think every cop is just like these cops, right or wrong. Well, right or wrong. And you could stand up there and whine all you want. Ooh, there's good cops. Where they at? Parade them. Show it to us. You know? Let me see. Let us see. You know. I'm just that's just the easiest possible way to begin to turn the tides on how people view police officers. You got to counter that narrative of bad cops run amok and racist cops and hateful cops and cops who don't care about the job or the badge. They just want to beat ass. You got to counter that narrative, good cops. And you got to align yourself and get other good cops to stand up and say, that's not what policing is. This is what policing is. And until you're ready to do that, then you're gonna be battling up against the definition that the bad cops have already put in place. Have already put in place. When I was on the piano Sunday with Nicholas Davidoff on his book The Other Side of Prospect, and I was sitting with Chief Campbell and Attorney I think it's Rosenblum, who was the attorney for Bobby, and helped get his case, helped get him out of jail and not, because he was wrongfully convicted. I'm still baffled by, and no one seems to be able to answer for me, how did these New Haven detectives, Willoughby and the other cat, how did they manage to do so much harm for so long? As if they had no supervision, no oversight, no checks and balance, just allowed to run roughshod in the department. And I keep hearing them say, at that particular time, they were solving crime cases and they had a high, but wasn't anybody checking about, well, how are they doing this? It just seems a little, I mean, I get talent, but let me look into this. Nobody did that. Nobody said, let's look at this. And when they was walking this child into the police department, unsupervised, without guardian, without attorney, without any of those things, and had him there for hours and hours, nobody in that police department said, I think this is wrong. I wouldn't want anybody to pick my child up off the street and we don't know where they are and they're in the police department being interrogated and, I mean, harshly interrogated. No one has been able to answer this for me. And until I get an answer, is that business as usual? Well, I believe now there's some new rules and regulations. You cannot just pick kids up off the street and bring them downtown without knowledge of their parents or guardians. That seems common sense to me. Where 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 in life would like to see that happen in any other occupation? You wouldn't tolerate your doctor coming down your street and picking your child up to go do an exam without your knowledge. You wouldn't tolerate your dentist driving down the street and saying, "Hey, Bobby, let me go and check your teeth," without parental guidance and knowledge. So so when it comes to this, why are we why did all the police department turn a blind eye? Why did everybody think they knew what was going on? But somebody knew what was going on. They knew it was wrong. See that's this is part if the police department had some sense, they would get a whole communications department on their behalf so that they can sidestep and not fall into these traps of these PR nightmares where they have to explain bad, terrible, egregious behavior. And I don't mean public relations like make the stupid look plausible. I don't mean that. I mean somebody to say, "That's not a good optic. You don't want that." Unless you prepare to stand up there and explain this foolishness, don't do that, you know? So so I'm so I believe that police officers, police departments across this country have got to figure out a way to get back in good faith with community. Seriously. And it can't be just one or two police officers who care about kids, give out candy to kids. It can't be just one or two officers who know people in the neighborhood. It has to be top down. It has to be bottom up. It has to be left and right. It has to be a changing of the attitude and the environment of police departments. And listen, I get it. The job is a hard job. Hard. I know it's hard work, you know, but what you don't want is this sense of us then fear that exists and has been built upon and built upon for a long period of time so that people can't erase beat down posses out of their mind, that people expect police officers to beat your ass. They expect mistreatment from the police department. They expect it, you know. And I'm not suggesting that police officers have to like, be softer, gentler, and kinder in a way that puts them at risk. No one is saying that, police officers. No one is saying that. But what I am saying is that there is and the divide is only going to get greater, particularly as we pay attention to uh 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 I can speak to New Haven, but this is indicative of cities across this country. The two New Havens, or the three or four or five or six, seven, eight, nine different New Havens that exist. And I don't just say, oh, there's one other New Haven. I think there's like 10, 12 other New Havens, right? In New Haven. Like there's layers to this thing, you know. You and they're broken out vis-a-vis ethnicity, immigrants, uh, young people, immigrants, uh, and then this other previously held young people, juveniles. So there's a whole lot of subsets of other New Haven that we just tend to. I don't know if we're not paying attention. Like Jihad can't be the only one paying attention. Leap can't be the only one paying attention. The boys, New Haven Boys and Girls Club can't be the only one paying attention, right? That's just not enough. It's just not it's not enough eyes on the situation. We all have to pay attention, and we all have to do our part to sort of quell these different and disconnected New Havens. There's just a lot of disconnected New Havens. And let me tell you how I know. Because last year when Paul suggested we do word on the street, and it was telling to me, and I loved word on the street, and people out there love word on the street. It was telling to me that there are parts of New Haven that people just did not know existed. That there are people in New Haven who are doing things that people just don't know existed. And I don't mean like they're doing activities or whatever. They just live in such a way that just goes under the radar that we don't think about. We don't think about the nuances of who lives in New Haven and why, you know. And so word on the street for us, for me, was quite telling and made me really think about how many New Havens are there? You got the reentry people who try to carve out a life. You got the immigrant folks who are trying to carve out a life. You've got students of Yale students and Southern students and Albertus Magnus students and Gateway students. Everybody's trying to, fit in where they could get in, you know. And then you have the people who work for the university as maintenance people, who keeps the grounds and all of that kind of stuff, who are pretty much invisible in plain sight. And then you have the people who are professors and the like who work at the university. We don't see much of them either, but we know they exist because they buy houses, they rent apartments, they eat downtown. But that's a whole other New Haven. So I'm just saying, we've got a lot of moving parts, um, and uh, and some of it is not reflected in the everyday practical services that go on in the city, you know. So that's what I say. The police department has a public relations problem. You know, they they just got to get back to, if you're going to embrace community policing, embrace it, and it has to be top down, bottom up, left, right. And I think the current chief is doing his best. I mean, he seems to really be a chief that really likes being chief. And I say that to say that he's got a lot of energy for it. Do you know what I mean? Like Esserman always seemed grumpy to me, right? He always seemed like, and he was a smart guy. He always seemed grumpy, uh, to me. Uh, like, I don't really love this job. I'm doing this job. You know. I think is it Chief Chapman? I think for me, I mean, I think he was hoping that the police department would be better than what it was, and that he could help make it become better than what it was, and he couldn't. He just couldn't. He just couldn't get them to be better than what they were. I no shade, no shade. I think the days of a Pascal and a Mel Waring are, you know, because Mel Waring was like, this is a job, and you're gonna do your job, and you're gonna, and Pascal had a vision, but he had an uphill battle with trying to change the culture of policing. And the people who showed up to police, the people who showed up and took these jobs, he was trying to change a culture. That was the beginning, I think, of turning the New Haven culture around, you know. And I think Chief Ortiz is cut from the same cloth, but I think it wore him down too. And he was like, oh, I had enough of these people. Because I think we don't talk enough about what police officers need for their own mental health and their own well-being. And when we talk about it for them, it is always seen as though there's some weakness in them. And that's the wrong approach. That's the wrong approach. I think every police officer who puts on that uniform ought to have some uh, therapeutic care connected to their job on a regular basis. You know, that's got to be built in. Like if you want this job, you are consenting to mandatory conversations with a therapist and therapeutic activities throughout the course of in your career. Like, so you come in as a rookie, then this is how much therapeutic care you must get signed off on, and so on up the chain, like so that everybody is having therapeutic care. Because I think you can identify some pressure points and help people resolve them, particularly if you don't have the skill set. Policing, I don't think policing is an easy job. Not no way, how, stretch of the. It is every day you put on a uniform and you are putting your life on the line. That in and of itself is stressful as hell. Stressful. And I don't think police officers understand how stressful it is, you know. So I think, and unions have to be like, this is a good thing. And we're not going to use therapeutic care as a way to jam nobody up. No, we're not, that's not the point of it. The point of it is that each and every, so that if everybody has to do it, then nobody looks like they're being singled out. Nobody's looking like, oh, look, they can't handle their mind. Oh, they're weak, or they can't get it together. Nope, everybody's got to do it. Everybody's got to take some time on the couch. Everybody got to take a turn with therapy, And maybe that's something that Clifford Beers works with children, but maybe there's some entity that rises up that says, we just solely work with police officers and what they have to go through. And you just see cops all the time. You see police officers all the time. So that it becomes part of their everyday practical lives. That, I got therapy at 6. You got therapy at 4. I got therapy. And, and everybody has to do it. So nobody is singled out. Nobody is above it. Nobody gets to skip it, any of that. And I'll go you one better. I'd make the Board of Police Commissioners put a little time on the couch too. If you want to be on the Board of Police Commissioners, then you've got to go through a little therapeutic, support too. For as long as you serve on this commission, you got to have a little therapeutic support too. Maybe not at the same rigorous rate as working police officers, but you've got to have the experience of some therapeutic care too. And I think if we built that into police departments where everybody has to do it over a period of time over their career, so we could catch problems, and it's all private, it's all confidential, it cannot be in their file for behavior. The only thing that's in their file is like, yep, they showed up. And then the therapist, however way they have to keep records, they keep records. But and they can't be used against them. Now, I'm no lawyer, but I play one on the radio. Anything could be subpoenaed, I think. You stand in front of a judge, you make anything. You can make the case for anything being opened up, I would imagine. I don't know. And I know that would be a fear, because if you sit on the couch and tell somebody you have these thoughts or you feel this way or blah, 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 that you run the risk of it being outed in some way, fashion, shape, or form. That's a real fear. And I don't think it's a small fear. I think it's a big fear. I think that's a big fear. And I get it. But I do think, though, that the value in having police officers have therapeutic care as part of their duties, as part of their profession, as part of what they sign up to do, you know, is greater than the risk of, you know, whatever. Because I just think it's necessary. And we've seen too many cases of police officers under so much stress beat their wives, kill people, do themselves harm. I mean, if you have one, that's one too many. If you have one case of that, that's one too many. And we can't, and I think we've come too far to just leave it to their own devices. You know, I don't know. I think we have to, I think we have to think about that. I mean, I think that's next level policing is mental health care. Seriously, I really do mean that. And I would say for any public serving department, any public serving department. I mean, I think the public works people see more stuff than people realize. I think the public works people see more traumatizing stuff than people even realize that they see. So who do they talk? Who talks to them? How do they process what they see? You know, sometimes they're the first responders for stuff. We don't talk about that because we just think in our mind, well, they're just picking up the refuse. That's all they're doing. But can you imagine what you find and see and deal with in picking up refuse? It's a lot. You know, how do we deal with that? How do we keep people whole? You know, we know that therapeutic care helps a great deal and relieves a lot of burden for people, particularly men, because men don't seem to want to talk about their feelings. You know, and all the men that I know that have therapeutic care have become better men for it, have become better men. So they're like, I don't know what the fear was. The fear is you don't want to lay bare your intimate thoughts for the world to see or for anybody to see because you don't want to be judged. You might be embarrassed and you might just feel quite helpless about how to feel, deal, or whatever. And those are very real things, particularly in a world and a society that tells men, man up at every turn. You know, we start telling boys at 2 years old to man up, whatever that means. What does it mean to man up? To not be kind and not be caring, to not be, you know, faithful and good and decent human beings, right? So that's my take. That's a long way to say we just have to do better. We have to put some checks, some different checks and balances in to 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 if we're going to police, because I don't think it's going to get easier to police. And we can bring in all the artificial intelligence supports that we need, but at the end of the day, it still requires human interaction. And what does that look like? And I there are moments when I'm in the presence when police roll up on me, and they don't roll up on me, but there is a moment when I'm nervous about police too. And I know some cops, and they know who I am. You know, there are moments for that split second when a cop car is behind me, and I'm driving home at night, and I'm thinking, where am I? You know, then I start to become acutely aware of where I am. You know, and what's happening. You know, that's just because of the moment that we're in, the moment that we're in. You know, uh, and if I feel this way, and I'm, you know, reasonably sane, healthy, mentally astute person. Well, okay, that might be questionable and debatable, but nonetheless, If I feel this way, imagine people who have negative interaction with police several times. You know, imagine, imagine that. So I'm just saying that's my 2 cents on uh that's my 2 cents on the taking. You know. Anyway, well, hmm. So okay. That's enough of that. But that's what I would. That's what I would. I would put forth if you could. And I know it would be very difficult because you first of all you'd have to have a conversation with unions and have to get them on board so that they could get the members on board, right? Like that's how that would have to go. I don't think it's a hard sell. I personally don't think it's a hard sell. I mean, I think it'll require some diplomacy and negotiation and some some hard and fast rules, some non-negotiables. But I think that's what needs to happen. I don't even know how I got on this. Oh, because the police officer that punched the guy. And the Troconis case, I guess, is in deliberations now. The jury is making its deliberations about her guilt or innocence. Listen, listen. That weak ass man that she was fooling around with, that married man, he done killed himself to get out of whatever and left her holding the bag. There ain't nothing she could do but ride this out. I believe he did kill his wife because people kill their spouses all the time. They just can't find the remains. That's all that is. Yet, you know. And I believe she did know what was happening. Because there are some women who are just that stupid that'll go along with stupid men. There's enough stupid women out there who will go along with stupid men. First of all, this is how I know a man ain't no good. If he's a married man and he's out here carousing, he ain't no good. He's out the gate. He is a liar. Unless he is working toward a divorce from this current sitting wife. Nope. I wouldn't. I'd be like, listen, when you get free, there might be a possibility that we have a conversation. Otherwise, lose my number, 0. you know. But the way that these men get away with this is that they have to have willing women to participate. And I think this is a girl, you done got hemmed up. He done left you high and dry by virtue of suicide. I don't even know what, like, for me, he goes to all this trouble to kill his wife, then he commits suicide. Bruh, you could have just committed suicide off the rip and left your wife alive so she could be a mother to your children. I don't understand any of that foolishness. So the idea of going to prison and looking like a murderer was so distasteful that you just killed yourself. That's how I think that went down. Like, oh, I'm caught. I'm just gonna end it. And I'm gonna leave my girlfriend hanging high. She gonna take the rap for it. She was in the car. They see her driving around all Hartford throwing garbage away. Who does that? No person without motive does that. I don't care. I'm no attorney. And I know there's all kinds of legalities about how you can say that and not say that and deflect from that and whatever. I'm just saying, rational people be like, what? This is why I don't get on jury, dude. Just why I never get picked for jury. Because I would be the one just be like, Okay, now what now? What are the missing pieces? Because I would just be asking the questions. I've been like that since I was able to talk. I was a kid in class to be like, okay, Miss Rawls. I'm always asking the question, like, well, but what about? And my teachers would be hella frustrated. Be like, because what's obvious would just jump out at me. It would just jump out at me, and it wouldn't be obvious to other people, and I'd be like, "What's wrong with y'all? Don't you see this?" And my teachers would be like, "Okay, little Miss Rawls, we're done with the question and answer period. We're done. We're done." And it didn't help that I was a kid that grew up reading Ellery Queen, Agatha Christie, and Encyclopedia Brown. Like it didn't help that that stuff helped foster an inquisitive mind. Like that stuff didn't help. If even so, it made it more. You know, I just see things a little differently. So, so I would just be like, what? I'll be like, if I'm the other, I'm like, girl, that tell me again. Talk to me about this relationship you was in with this man. Okay, what was it based on? Do you do like did you have some saying stuff? Did he often not tell you when y'all was about to do stuff? Like, did he say, come in the house and be like, let's go? And you just get in the car not knowing where you going? I'm like, was that a common occurrence? Like that's how the relationship dynamics was? Like help me understand. Walk me through how y'all were together. See, that's how I get to the heart of things. You know. I mean, she might go down for this. She might just I don't know if she could walk away. I don't know. I don't know if she took the stand on her own behalf. I don't even know. I just know she left holding the bag figuratively. She is the last man standing. And I think if she knows I mean, I guess at this point you just don't say whether you help kill somebody. I guess you just don't. I guess you just like, let me just keep going on with whatever the story is and stay with the story. And it's on the other people to sort of prove or discredit what you're saying, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how all that works just yet. I'm gonna learn though. I'm gonna learn because I just feel like what? What? And the thing about me becoming an attorney at this point in my life, I'm not here for the bells and whistles or any of that kind of stuff. I just want to be on the ground and do what I can where I can. That's it. You know, I just want to I just want to help. And and I think we need some legal help. And I'm at the point in my life where this is not the beginning of a career, you know. So I'm not gonna need it to like survive or eat, you know. I think it's not a profession in a way uh that way for me. Seriously. So, but anyway, I'm just gonna I'm just gonna allow things to do what they do and see what happens. I'm delighted this morning because at 10:15, I get to have Gracie Kierstad on, and she is directing a play at Southern Connecticut State University, which I think has already opened. And if it's not opening, it's about to open. And you know, I'm very excited to talk to her. I've had her on a couple of times over the years, particularly when she was doing Shakespeare and the park stuff. And then I think she had a production a couple of years back at Southern, and I had the students on, which was nice. Or I kind of talked to some of them, and so uh, it's it's gonna be nice to reconnect with her. So she coming out at 10:15. I'm gonna give you a little bit more update on what the play is called Anonymous, and I think his name is. Let me look this name up real fast. Who sent me the who is coordinating this conversation? Oh, here we go. Here we go. So, um, this play, Anonymous, uh, by Naomi Lizuka, uh, addresses refugees in search of family and a home through a retelling of Homer's Odyssey. And if you know the story of Homer's Odyssey, you know, he sails away and is gone forever and ever and has all these experiences. Because I loved mythology, Greek mythology and Norse mythology when I was a kid. So so the Iliad and the Odyssey, of course, is right up there with favorites because I just loved all that just vivid imagination and all of that. So anyway, Gracie is directing this, and it's the retelling of Homer's Odyssey through a refugee lens. And I'm so delighted to talk to her about this because it feels so timely, so present, so right now. And you know, that's how you keep these tried and true stories current when you filter them through a lens of right now, you know. Uh, and I just love that, right? Because there's always something to be learned, something new to be gleaned from, you know, the retelling of a story with a different lens. You know, when you overlay it onto a particular community or overlay it onto a particular event, you know, and in this case, refugee lens. So I'm very looking forward to talking about what this looks like, why they're doing it, why is this necessary, you know, and the retelling of these stories keep these stories new and exciting, but it also just keeps these stories in rotation so that they don't die out. You know, that's why I like, you know, when people take on Shakespeare or or any of the great plays and just, you know, turn them upside down to 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 share them with new audiences, you know, to share them with new audiences. And, you know, uh if you see it once and you liked it and then you see it again reimagined, you know, it's like, wow. You know, I had no idea. Oh, now this gives me something else to think about. Oh, this just really gives me pause or makes me think or, you know, that kind of thing. So that's why I'm always excited about theater. Always. Because it's storytelling, just fine storytelling, you know. And insight into things and places and people that you may not encounter in your everyday ordinary life, or this might be happening in your neck of the woods and you're like, oh, it hits differently when I see it played out when I'm looking at it from all the moving parts, not just from my vantage point. That's theater for me. Like, you know, sometimes it can speak to what is going on or what has gone on in my life, and sometimes it's just a window. Sometimes it's merely a window into something that is totally not connected to you. That's totally irrelevant to you. So that's why I like theater. That's why I go to theater. That's why I'm part of theater. I, because I like it. I like seeing a window into something that might not be related to me, or seeing something that is truly my story, but from a larger perspective, or maybe from a more intimate perspective. There's all these things that theater can do. All these things that theater can do. It can educate, it can shock, it can awe, it can change your mind, it can open your heart, it can make you angry, it can make you do all these. I mean, it has the power to do all those things. And storytelling at its core, everything is a story, right? The sacred text is storytelling. The Bible is just one big storytelling book of people's experience with God. you know, the people's experiences with God. So, I mean, if you go there, that's it. It's just storytelling, you know. And so I love it for that reason. That's why I spend a lot of time cultivating storytelling, being a storyteller, using this platform sometimes to tell stories. That's what it is. So I'm going to take a break. I made hibiscus tea yesterday, I told y'all. So now it's been jarred up in the fridge, so it's nice and cold. Ta, 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 ta. I love it. So I'll be back at 10:15 with Gracie Kierstad.
I take that back. Let me lay there.
Hi, this is Babz Rawls-Ivy from New Haven, Connecticut, and you're listening to WNHHLP 103.5 FM, streaming live at newhavenindependent.org.
Girl, don't you move a muscle. I just wanna touch you.
If your home was built before 1978, your paint or even the soil around your home could contain lead. Lead paint can harm young children, affecting their kidneys and brain, slowing a child's growth and making learning difficult. But lead poisoning is 100% preventable. We have funding to keep you and your family safe. To learn more about our program, visit nhbhealth.org. Together, New Haven,